Testing, testing. Looks like, are we good? All right, so I'll get started. Hopefully, if you're interested in discussing these episodes along with me, let me know in the live chat. Looking forward to feedback. So, hey, everybody, Blood Moon Bobby here. So, at long last, right before the third season of Infinity Train was going to come out, I've finished watching the second season, book 2, with Jesse and MT. So, yeah, overall, I would say I really like the season. I would say I think things really started getting good in the second half of the season because that's when things started to make like a complete 180, and it's just like, oh, I see what you did there. So, yeah, I would say the season was overall pretty good. Just for disclaimers, the reason why I'm not going to be talking about the first episode of book 2 is because I already did that a while ago, back when it first came out. So if you want to check out my thoughts on the first episode, you can go check that out after the stream. Here I'm going to be talking about the rest, episodes 2 through 10. It's been definitely a wild ride. I did get spoiled here and there, both for what happens at the very end with MT, as well as what happens to the mirror officers. Thought it was really interesting, to say the least. But I'm definitely glad. I will say that I did want to wait for a time for when I could finish the second season. I wanted to do it right around the time book 3 was coming out, because that was I figured that would be my chance, and because I was already in the process of reviewing the Owl House, I would already be in a sort of reviewing mood. So yeah, I've been kind of been taking a sort of social media break for the last week because of a new episode of the Owl House. I knew, because everybody was talking about it, I wanted to take a break. I figured it was a good time, and I didn't want to get spoiled. I got some scenes were spoiled, and one particular scene from Infinity Train Book 2 was already spoiled for me. But whatever. Well, welcome to running a YouTube channel and having a bunch of social media accounts follow. So there will be spoilers. I'm going to be talking about every single detail. I know it's kind of weird. I'm doing a stream, since nowadays with the Owl House episodes, I've been doing them as pre-recorded videos, but because there were so many episodes to get through, I figured it would be just easier if I streamed my thoughts. And also, whenever I do streams, I'm also really interested in hearing what you have to say about these shows that I review. So, okay, so if you have any particular thoughts about any of the episodes, and also, I'm not going to do that thing. I'm such an idiot. I did in the first stream when I reviewed episode 1, where I was like eating my dinner off screen. I think a lot of people got weirded out. Don't worry. I do have iced coffee here because it's really hot where I'm doing the stream, but this is the only part of my house where I could really do it. So here we go. Let's talk about these episodes. We're going to start with the family tree car. It's the car that MT and Jesse enter, and there are these, like, it's basically a tree, but it has these wooden faces of these two feuding families, the Gillicuddies and the Trundleshanks. And I'll be honest, the first time I watched this episode, I think this is why it's important to watch the episodes multiple times if you can. I didn't really like this episode at first. I thought it was because I maybe got a little too invested in what Jesse was trying to do. See, in this episode, when they enter, actually they fell for leaves and they ended up in this giant tree, and they're trying to find the dear Alan Dracula. They really go with that name. And Jesse and MT are just trying to get through. MT just wants to get over it because of her strength, and she's able to just like bash through the branches, and she really doesn't want Jesse getting in the way, and Jesse's trying to help things. And I think I got a little too invested into what Jesse was doing to understand the idea of what was going on. Because at first, I didn't like the episode because I didn't like the episode at first because I thought, oh, why is MT being so brash? Jesse's only trying to help. Because, I could respect what Jesse was trying to do. trying to resolve this feud between the two families. But when I rewatched the episode, I realized the whole point of this episode was for MT and Jesse to start cooperating with each other. Where it really hit me when I realized, oh, that's the idea of this episode, is when they start fighting again, like arguing with each other, and they're caught with the branches of the trees, and they don't realize what's going on. And so, but when they realize, when they start cooperating, and they even have to kind of force out compliments toward each other, it helps them get through this tree. And I realized, oh, so it's that they don't want to end up like, fighting and arguing like all these people on the family tree car. So I was like, oh, okay, that's the idea. And so it works. It was nice to see them finally cooperate with each other, and they get Alan Dracula back. So I think this episode definitely does the job as far as trying to get the two characters to finally get along in a more positive way. Albeit in the case of MT, she's more so doing it just so she can, get Jesse off the train faster and get his number down, and so he can get off the train. So, but yeah, I would say it was a pretty decent episode, and it was nice to see it the second time to understand that the point of the episode was for the two to get along, so they don't end up in a situation where they're fighting against each other like what this whole family was doing. So yeah, so Family Tree Car, pretty decent episode. The Map Car, this is the episode where MT, and more so Jesse, because he's the one with the number, they have to find the pieces of this map in order to fill in the land and get to the exit of this car. The Map Car, in terms of like creativity, is probably one of my favorite episodes of season 2. I really like this. I really like the art style. I think it's a really creative idea, the way they fill in this map. Basically, I really like how Jesse and MT basically, in order to fill out, like, put in extra land, they have to find the pieces of the map and put them together, and that in turn reveals more of the land. So I thought that was a really creative concept. And I also really like how they were able to defeat the antagonist of the episode when they discover the antagonist, who's this really giant guy in the clouds named Marcel, is actually trying to trap them there. Jesse comes up with this idea where he has to actually draw the exit himself and put it on the map. He even draws this like serpent character to try to fend off Marcel, and I thought that was a really creative twist. And I definitely didn't see the ending coming, because the thing about the art style of that episode is it's done in this like really the color palette of this episode. It's this really faded color palette. It looks like a really old-timey map, and some of the objects in the episode are done with a very like a rough frame rate, like, waves of the water. Instead of moving slowly, they kind of move like this, where it's hard to demonstrate on camera. But I thought, yeah, the world of the episode and the puzzle that the two characters have to solve was really creative. One of my favorites of the second season. And I also like the conversation that Jesse and MT have, where, and I didn't pick this up, I thought the logo on Jesse's jacket was like the flag of Arizona, but it's actually his swim team logo, and he reveals that even though he can swim the butterfly, he prefers he would like to try his hand at freestyle, but the reason he does the butterfly is because it would allow him to basically make state in his school swimming team. And so MT gets an understanding of hey, that's how for some people, even if it's not what Jesse prefers, he has a reason for wanting to do a swimming stroke that he doesn't prefer, because there is a motivation behind it. So I thought that was a nice moment of understanding and gets Jesse's number down. I don't know if I mentioned this in a prior stream, but I also find it really creative the way the mirror officers, the police officers that are chasing MT and Jesse, the way they travel around the Infinity Train is they come out through basically any reflective surface. So I really like how, because of that, and it answers the question why MT has to spray things with like black spray paint, and it's because if it's a reflective surface, the mirror officer could come out and arrest her. So, take for instance, don't worry, I'm not gonna go off screen. Eat and eat food. I'm just getting an object to demonstrate what I mean. So, like if you say, this is the monitor I use to see myself and record videos, this could be potentially dangerous for MT because it's a reflective surface, a mirror officer could just like come out and, you know, arrest her. So, yeah, so that's basically how the episode ends. They're cornered, well, not cornered, but they have to get out, which leads us to the next episode, the Toad Car, which I really like when the puzzles in Infinity Train are really deceptively. They seem real, like, you know, it seems like a really simple solution, but it's not what you think. It's that sort of thing that I really like about the show, where so basically, I'm just gonna call them the mirror officers. I think that's what they're called. Anyway, mirror officers, the Chrome Police. You get the idea. So, anyway, they're basically trapped in this next car, the Toad Car, which is literally just this like really plain car, and there's a toad, and the toad, you're supposedly supposed to kick the toad, but when Jesse goes over and tries, his number goes up. So it's like, wait, so he's not supposed to kick the toad? And so basically the two characters, Jesse and MT, are like stuck in this car. They lie down on Alan Dracula, who, because he can transform, shoots out these pillows for them to relax. And one of the mirror officers tries to manipulate Jesse into thinking that MT is a legit criminal. Manipulation seems to be a thing that Jesse bumps into quite a bit throughout the season. And we also discover, and I called this, but not the whole thing. We find out that the issue, so when you're on the Infinity Train, you're trying to figure out, you know, a personal issue, and that's part of how you get your number down to get off this train. And we discover with Jesse, it's because he kind of got his brother, who I predicted, his brother in trouble. So basically what happens is he wanted his brother to do this so-called man test, which was sliding down this hill while riding this box. I'm not really sure what it is. And the brother does it, but it hurts him. Like, he's really, really hurt and runs off crying. And that's the personal issue. And Jesse, seeing that, like, he sees a video of the incident again, and he realizes he did the wrong thing. And MT, you know, it tells him that, you know, your friends were really bad. And Jesse understands that that was a really huge mistake. And so so I like that it does give a little layer of complexity to Jesse's character, in that he did something wrong, and, you know, he realizes that you know, it was wrong, and that's part of what helps him and get off this train. And so we go on. I do kind of find it funny. It turns out in the end, maybe part of it is that Jesse had to make that realization, but the way they're able to get out of this car is when morning comes and the mirror officers are about to break down the door, or the toad is like, kick me, and who kicks the toad? It's Alan Dracula who kicks the toad. Part of me is wondering why. I mean, not that, you know, I mean, it's definitely a really strange idea. Yeah, but I was like, you know, why didn't this happen in earlier? But I guess part of the reason was because Jesse had to learn a lesson about what happened between him and his brother. And so that happens, and MT and Jesse are able to make their escape. So yeah, so I think it was another really good episode as well. Still a little conflicted as far as you know, it turns out Alan Dracula was the one who had to kick the toad in the end. I will say, as far as the problem goes, I kind of wish with although I'll explain this more when we get to I think it's the Wasteland episode. I will say I kind of wish that they took more of their time in revealing what Jesse's personal problem is. Kind of like with Tulip, where we slowly started to get to the part where Tulip, confronts her past when she sees that her parents divorced. Here, it's just, I mean, we do get a good explanation, but it's just like, got it explained, and it looks like Jesse learned his lesson. Obviously, his number is not down completely quite yet, but I thought, the resolution was a little on the fast side, but I still thought that. But overall, I would say that this episode was definitely on my good list. So, because in the end, I do like the character interactions, and I do ultimately like how deceptively simple the puzzle was. And so we get to the next episode, the Parasite car, which, while I thought was decent, I was kind of more on the S side by default when it came to Book 2's episodes. Basically, in this episode, what happens is Alan Dracula gets this green parasite named Perry stuck in his mouth, and he starts controlling him. At first, Perry seems like a nice enough guy, but then it turns out Alan Dracula, understandably so, really doesn't want to be controlled by this parasite and is really struggling to get out. And when it came to the parasite, I mean, it was kind of entertaining to see. He seemed like a really friendly guy and saying, hey, because of me, I'll let you, referring to Jesse and MT, ride on Alan Dracula and makes Alan Dracula talk and this sort of thing. And he was even able to get Jesse and MT through this fashion show, which basically the way you can get through this fashion show is basically as long as you do a decent enough pose on the catwalk, you can get through. And then when we got to the car after that, which was some kind of food car, Alan Dracula just goes berserk. You could see his face, faces coming out of different parts of his body. He's going gigantic and getting all sorts of patterns, and his powers are just going absolutely berserk. And I'm looking for my notes again. And the way that they're able to get out, I will say I did get into the climax because it was legitimately something I didn't expect, where MT has to go back they went across a flower field in an earlier scene and get a flower so that Alan Dracula can sneeze Perry out. So, yeah, I mean, as an episode, I thought it was all right. It was just kind of a one note thing, because it's because it just kind of went the ways of, oh, I'm Perry, I can make Alan Dracula into a better character, and just like that, and just like that, Perry was already sneezed out. So, yeah. I thought that Perry was entertaining enough, but it was just kind of it would just kind of seemed a little inconsequential for me. But as far as an episode goes, I will say it was well told and it was entertaining. It's just that as far as affecting the rest of Book 2's story, it was kind of on the inconsequential side. Next we get to, I'm sure a lot of Season 1 fans are really going to like this one, the Lucky Cat car, which is where MT and Jesse come across this carnival where the two of them together have to win, I think it was 1,000 points. And so they play a whole bunch of carnival games, like arcade bowling and shooting games. I think part of the charm of this episode is you do get to see several characters from the first season playing these games. The person who's basically running the game that MT and Jesse have to play overall is the cat from the first season, which was nice. I actually at least early on in the episode, MT was actually scoring less points than Jesse. Although the reason is because Jesse is trying to get off the train, he kind of gets preferential treatment. I actually kind of related to her when he said that she feels like the train is working against her, even though it doesn't really matter because what matters most is the two of them can get in enough points in order to win the exit. And I actually really related to when she said that. I feel like the train is working against me, especially like when I have bad days and things are going wrong. I sometimes I could really relate to that feeling. The ending was certainly something I didn't expect, where it actually turns out they're competing against this character who's like wearing this cloak. I actually first thought that the character was the villain from the first season of Infinity Train, but actually, it's actually a big surprise to me. It's actually this character named Grace who's part of this Apex. Basically, a really rebellious character who doesn't want to get off the train. She has like a bunch of numbers on her arm. So I wasn't expecting that. I believe this is the character, and you could correct me in the live chat, that this is the character that book 3 is focusing on. I've seen bits and pieces of the book 3 trailer, and the characters reminded me of Grace, so I'm thinking maybe that's what's going on. I'll talk about more details about the Apex when we start discussing the next episode. But yeah, as far as the Lucky Cat car goes, it was pretty decent as well. We get to the mall car episode, which, in my opinion, it kind of reminded me, in a very loose sense, of the Chrome car episode from book 1. Like, not because of the environments or anything like that. They are two really distinct episodes. But I felt that the mall car episode was foreshadowing what's coming in the third season, because many of the characters, like, we get to see their hideout, which is basically this mall full of graffiti where these kids, the Apex kids, basically run around and do whatever they want, or, really rebellious. And I think these are the characters that we see that are coming in the third season. And again, they kind of try to turn Jesse against MT, trying to say, hey, getting your own number is good after all. I have in my notes that they even tried tricking Jesse into thinking that 1-1 is a robot that's trying to get rid of them. And so, at first, Jesse is having fun, like he's going around, jumping into another train with the Apex characters. They come to this train where literally the Apex characters go around and just smash a bunch of cubes, and Jesse can't really get into it. And, I could understand myself. The Apex definitely seems like a really over-rebellious sort of characters, and he realizes that he should have stayed with MT this whole time. I am curious to learn more about these characters. Probably what I liked most about this episode was the mystery aspect, like in terms of, because I still had question marks in my mind in regards to who exactly the Apex characters are, who are what. I don't want to spend too much time speculating too much, because the third season comes out tomorrow, I believe, and I'm gonna be reviewing it hopefully by next week. But it makes me wonder what issues are the characters Grace and Simon are trying to work through, and what causes them to stay. Why are they staying on the train when everybody is trying to get off? So, but I do like that, it's left in a way where it's kind of left for like the audience to speculate, and maybe they'll go into it more in the third season. But as far as leaving a good mystery for the audience, I would say this episode served the purpose, and Grace turns MT over to the mirror officers. And in the process, this was really surprising to me. It happened in this episode. Jesse's number goes down to 0. Like, he's able to go home, but MT, he can't go with him. So, yeah, definitely left me wondering, because, definitely a big surprise. I didn't expect Jesse. I guess I was thinking that maybe Jesse and MT would leave together, like, which I'll talk more about that at the very end of the stream. Like, I was expecting them, like, they weren't going to leave until the very end of the season, but Jesse is allowed to go because he got his number down, but MT, meanwhile, is apprehended by the mirror officers. And then we get to the Wasteland episode, which, oh boy, the ending, I was kind of warned about the ending, because things get pretty intense, but I'll go along with it as I get to the end, where I really like how this episode, it starts off with like a chase scene where MT is trying to get away from the Chrome officers, but in the process, she and one of the officers gets flung off the train, and this may gross some people out. One of the officers is like literally like cut in half, like decapitated. I mean, like, they don't show blood or anything. Like, he's more so like bleeding this like silvery liquid, which, yeah, that's definitely a really creepy visual where MT and the officer are out there and they're attached to each other because the officer captured MT with his handcuffs. So much of the episode is actually, before I get into it, why not? So much of the episode is the two trying to get back on the train while the two are basically like, bickering at each other, or because the officer really wants to capture MT. MT is like, why are you like this? Were you this much of a jerk back when you were alive? Because the thing about the Chrome and Mirror characters in Infinity Train is that they usually don't get separated until the person they belong to, what they call their prime, sorry about that, passes away. And MT in an earlier episode said that these characters have the option of either having their memories wiped or they just become a mirror officer. And so much of the episode is them fighting each other. They're at some point they get chased by the roach monsters we saw in the first season, and Alan Dracula protects the two by putting them in this tumbleweed. Like, that's the only way I could describe it. Basically, this tumbleweed made of his horns. And things are getting really interesting because the officer is like, what kind of future do you have? Are you going to go to high school, prom, or college? It's just, just basically just discouraging MT the whole time they're in there. And MT is getting increasingly frustrated hearing all this, discouragement and crap from this officer. And it's like, I'll find some way to get off this train. And when the officer's like, you and what number? And MT is like, hey, I gotta get a number to get off this train. And it really hit me. It's funny because I think I remember hearing a while ago that MT has to get her own number, but still, hearing it again and actually watching the episode, I was like, ooh, that's actually a really good twist, because it made me realize that first of all, what I liked about this episode is that I really feel like it genuinely, spun me and pulled a 180 on me, because it was when I realized that, deep down, even though, Jesse was the one with the number, this season, the focal point of the season is really on MT trying to gain her freedom. And I realized that, she's going from car to car like in the first episode of the season, but if she stays on this car forever, then she's always going to be chased by the officers. And it really doesn't help that these officers have a really easy way of transporting where they basically just need to come out of any reflective surface of their choosing. And so it made me realize that, so the only way she can get off this train is to get a number. And so she goes back on the train. The officer wants to capture her again. And this is this part, I'll be honest, was actually got pretty gritty for me. Mainly because I'm not really used to seeing a protagonist like do this. Is she basically finishes off the officer by swinging onto the one of the wheels of the Infinity Train and just letting it grind the shit out of this officer. And it's just like, it looks really painful. Like you see, more of that like that silver liquid like splash on MT's face as she's finishing this guy off, and it's just things just get really intense. I mean, don't get me wrong, this guy's a grade A jerk, but it's just like, Jesus Christ, I've never really seen a protagonist really do that, especially, yeah. So she comes to this realization, gets back on the train with Alan Dracula, and says, I'm gonna have to wait for a pod carrying, another passenger, or so that I can, find some way to get a number on my hand so I can get off this train. So, and honestly, come to think of it, I think this episode was a really good example of a twist I really like to see, in that I don't just like seeing, like, the thing for me, I don't just like it when an episode, like, or movie does something I didn't expect. I really like when I could feel a twist where I really felt like, wow, like, where I really feel like where the episode really, like, threw me for a loop, and it was, like, legitimately something I didn't see coming. Give me a second, I'm just changing something. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, I really liked how this episode, really threw me for a loop. I wasn't, I thought it was really smart that MT realizes that, oh yeah, I need to get my own number in order to get off this train. So again, if you've seen these episodes yourself, let me know in the live chat. I'm really down to discussing them. Okay. And then we get to next episode, the tape car, which I also thought in terms of like a creative art style was another really good one. Because the way it works, so MT gets on the pod, basically. Alan Dracula turns into like this spider and scares the shit out of this one guy who's in the pod, and she gets in, watches this really quirky video with 1-1 explaining how the train works, and she gets to this part of the car, and for a second, it's interesting, the setting of the tape card. This is basically where the passengers go to get their number. I found it interesting that instead of doing like some sort of, because what I was expecting was, because the Infinity Train, we expect this really big machine. Sorry, I don't mean to hit my microphone. Is this really big train? I was expecting, so it's going to be kind of like a factory, maybe powered by coal or something. No, it works in a very like science fiction way. It basically it makes me feel like I'm in like some kind of science fiction alien movie, the way the tape car works and looks. So they get there, and MT's checking the place out for a time, avoiding the machines and robots that work there. But just the way when she sees the people there, she can actually see the ordeal they went through by looking at this. It looks like a hair, but it's really like tape, like it's like, imagine a VHS tape that's like strung out, and it looks like hair. And when you look at it, you can see what the person went through. So in one example, she sees that this one person um, um, had this problem with her pet. It was like some kind of reptile, and the way you reveal the person is like through this like really gooey way. And I just thought it was a really interesting mix, like this idea of they're on a mechanical train, but the place where they send the passengers is done in like this really like science fiction in sort of way. And I thought it was still really creatively done, the way that the memories are shown and how they reveal the people underneath them. I thought was enjoyably creepy. And so when it comes time for MT to take a chance and get her number, she actually tries to do a thing where she puts her hand in like over the person who's supposed to get it, but the machine that gives the number goes through her hand and just gives it to that other person, and she just completely loses it and starts destroying all sorts of things because she's really frustrated and she really wants the numbers so she can finally get off this train. And that's when she comes across 1-1, which brings us over to the next episode, the number car. This is the really big one. By the way, throughout this whole time I was like thinking, oh, but if MT, but once she gets her number, won't she have to go through all these challenges, which I'll explain in a second. And so basically the number car, we see that when MT comes across 1-1. 1-1 at first recognizes her as, oh, you're Tulip's counterpart. And at this point, MT is just extremely sick and tired of being referred to as Tulip and saying, I'm not Tulip, I'm my own person. And yeah, just gets extremely angry and really wants a number. Throughout this episode, 1-1 is really confused because it's really unprecedented. The way numbers work in this world is that the only ones who get it are the humans that come on the Infinity Train. It seems like there's never been a case where a character from the world of the Infinity Train actually wants to get off, get a number and leave this train. So 1-1 is just rolling around being really confused. Jesse does come back, and it's because as he really wanted to help MT, and that became like his new personal issue. He was able to resolve what happened with his brother by basically acknowledging to his brother Nate that I shouldn't and have hurt you, I shouldn't have encouraged you to go down this hill. And so he starts telling Nate about where he's been. So kind of a sign, because I was wondering if the Infinity Train was the kind of thing where it's like on the Infinity Train, even if all the time, like no matter how much time passes, it's only like a couple minutes in our world. Like I thought it was going to be like Narnia logic, but it seems to be in real time to some degree, because Nate was like, where have you been, Jesse? I was really worried about you. And so after he tells Nate where he's been, and his personal issue became, I really want to save MT, which is really confusing, because when he gets his new number, even the number itself doesn't, and it's constantly changing. I'll wait for this helicopter to pass before I finish talking about the episode. Okay, and so the number keeps changing. At first it's like an emoji, and then it turns into a square root and just keeps changing. 1-1 is rolling around confused with the reasons I mentioned. The surviving mirror officer comes on the train and wants to take down an MT. So like all this shit is going on, and MT realizes, I don't really know how to feel about this. The way she gets her number supposedly is she basically just has Jesse reflect his symbol onto her hand, because MT, is from character, she could do that. And it's like, look, 1-1, I got my number. And even the way 1-1, when sees this, he's like, when he's asked, could does this mean MT could get off the train? He's kind of like, yeah, sure. It's just the kind of like, like kind of almost dismissive answer, which kind of makes me scratch my head, especially considering like all the different characters in the world of the Infinity Train. It's like, so basically, I think they were intending this to be like, oh, you thought it was going to be like a really complex answer, but it's actually rather simple. And the way I took it is like, I don't know how to feel about that, because it's like, couldn't any other character or do that if any character wanted to? But then again, and not every character on the Infinity Train has like a reflective skin in to get off this train or anything like that. So I don't know if this means in like future episodes this is going to become like a really big like thing for 1-1, where I'm wondering if like maybe multiple characters want to get off the train. Although it seems like the vast majority of the characters on the train are content with just staying, and this is the world that they live in. And also, yeah, but it works. And they get off the train. The surviving officer tries to get MT back on. You know what's funny is I saw, like on Twitter, I do these who is this character posts, and when I wanted to do one for Infinity Train, I first thought because they only show really short gifs. I first thought that, oh crap, did MT get like split in half? But it's like, no, the way the animation and like the way they styled it, it's like, no, she's trying to get to our world, but this officer is like holding her back, so she's still in one piece. But I did see this, the way she gets Alan Dracula to defeat this officer is by throwing this like piece of grass, because Alan Dracula really likes grass, and it makes him shoot this laser that makes this officer just like blow up, just like explode into a liquidy chromy mess. And so, yeah, so this is definitely... So, yeah, it's a really unprecedented situation, because now a character from the Infinity Train world, not just like a passenger who was able to get through, has made it to our world, and really does raise some good questions as far as what MT is going to do. And given the nature, maybe they'll come back and address MT at some point in the series. Just needed to drink some water there. But it makes you wonder, what's she going to do now? Is she going to go live her own life? Is she going to go to school? Maybe like go to the same school as Jesse? Although it's done in a way where I think, again, that's up to that's up to the audience. What do you think will happen with MT when she goes to live life on Earth? And of course she meets Nate. And oh boy, and this was spoiled for me. Like, God, I don't handle spoilers all that well. Because we know that MT is so sick of being known as, oh, you're Tulip's companion, she decides to change her name to Lake as she's staring out into a lake. So, so those are my thoughts on Infinity Train Book 2. I would say overall it was a really good season, definitely really thrilling. I think overall I like the second half of the season more than the first, because the first half, even though I do really like episodes like the map car and the toad car, it was just the kind of thing where it's like, yeah, okay, hey, just going through, hey, a creative choice here and there. And, I was really curious as far as what Jesse's like personal problem was going to be. And even though it's good, it was just kind of like very quickly explained. But when we got to the second half, that was when things really started to turn around, and it just became a thing where it's like, oh, I see what was intended to be the focus of the story all along. So, yeah, so as far as the season go, I do really like the second season. I think I prefer the first season a little more. The second season definitely, it did things that the first season didn't. Another helicopter pass. Don't worry, I'm not gonna start like eating food off screen like I did last time. Okay. Helicopter has gone away. I think what I liked about the first season a bit more was I liked that it took some more of its time in order or to get to the point where Tulip was able to resolve, her personal issues. And also I really liked how they reveal who the villain was when we find out who the conductor really was. Well, the conductor, if you've seen the first season, was really one, but you get my point. We found out who this villain really is and what she was going through and how she had like the multiple numbers, like even more than Grace did. So yeah, but still, regardless, I still thought it was a really good season, and an overall really good follow up to the first. I would say if you like the first season of Infinity Train, I recommend checking out the second, and I hope good things happen with the third season, which I'm not gonna do a trailer reaction for the third season because we're really close. Like, if I do one, it'll be just released on the same day, and my speculation isn't gonna last more than like not even a day. So I think I'll go into this third season just without seeing really any trailers and go in with as fresh a mindset as I can. But this is why I really should avoid Tumblr when I haven't seen the latest episode of The Owl House. But yeah, overall, I do really enjoy the second season, but I'm curious to hear what you personally thought. What did you think of book 2 of Infinity Train? Don't be shy. I really enjoyed discussing all sorts of shows with the live chat. So I think I'll keep the stream going on for another 10 minutes in case anybody else comes by. And as far as other videos I'm planning to do, I do want to talk about the news that the Avatar creators have left the Netflix live action series. Getting concerned about that myself. But I'll save that for a video. If I could film it tomorrow, it'll probably be up by Friday. And again, if you want to know my thoughts on the first episode of book 2, you can go check that out on my channel. I did it back when the first episode was coming out. And me and my friend Gabby, we've already reviewed the first season of Infinity Train. And that review is also on the channel as well. So, and I would say I am pretty happy with how reviews have been going. I know been trying to catch up on the Owl House. I haven't seen the new episode yet. It's because I'm trying to schedule a group review. If that doesn't play out now, I'll just do a review by myself, as I often do. But since the Grom episode was, like, heavily hyped, and I'm really trying my best to avoid spoilers, but it's really tough, even down to Google Alerts. It's mind you, so yeah, keep it going for 5 more minutes in case anybody else comes by. I do like doing for this in particular because there were 9 episodes to get through. I would prefer doing it on a live stream anyway. If anything, it's also for people who didn't get a chance to come by. I did when I did my recent anniversary video, I first filmed it using my first DSLR. So I know the process of creating multiple video clips, really crazy stuff. It wasn't the first time going, it wasn't worth it to begin with because my camera, first of all, my first camera could only record 5 minutes at a time in HD. And also, Adobe Media Encoder does not play well with the files of that camera. So I ended up just reshooting it on my Nikon D750. But yeah, keep it going for a few more minutes just so it's not too awkward for future viewers. Again, let me know your thoughts on book 2 of Infinity Train in the live chat. As long as the chat's going, I'm down to stay. I'm really curious to see if for the 3rd season, if you're gonna... My gut is telling me, I mean, we'll see how it goes when it's released, but I'm wondering if they're just gonna release, like, the entire season on HBO Max, where they just release all the episodes at once, like what they did with Close Enough. If that's the case, then I'll do another stream where I reviewed the episodes. I'm curious to see, what role that, Grace plays in this one. So I'll keep it going. I'll keep it going for a few more minutes in case anybody comes by. And if you're watching this stream in the future, you can let me know your thoughts on the 2nd season down below in the comments. So yeah, just to reiterate, as far as upcoming videos, I am thinking of talking about the news about the Avatar creators leaving the Netflix live-action show. The video is probably going to come out Friday. Maybe I could review book 3 by next week. Hopefully I don't get spoiled this time. As well as the episode of The Owl House. So, as far as it goes, those are the 2 shows that I'm mainly focused on for now. But I am really glad to be doing more reviews on this channel because I don't like doing the thing where I do trailer reactions, but then I don't get to reviewing things until like for a while. Part of it is because I get so busy with other videos like news videos and things like that. But I am making more of an effort to make reviews an even bigger part of this channel. I'll give it a couple more minutes in case anybody else comes by. Again, overall, I do really like most of the episodes of Book 2. I would say my favorites would probably be the Map Card, the Toad Car, and the Wasteland episodes. To actually come to think of it, I also do like the last couple. It's just the only thing about the last one though is I'm still kind of scratching my head over the solution where MT just has as Jesse's number reflect on her hand. Also curious to know, what do you think? Well, now Lake. What do you think Lake is gonna do now? And also, what do you think is going to happen in the third season of Infinity Train? So again, anybody that comes by, here for one more minute. If you have any more thoughts on Book 2, let me know. Please let me know in the live chat. All right, I think I'm gonna call it here. So yeah, so anybody who checked out the stream, thank you for coming by. I'm really glad that you supported the stream. So once again, overall, I do really like Book 2 of Infinity Train, and I'm curious to know where it goes from here in Book 3. So until next time, my next video, this has been Blood Moon